Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of The King of Lies by John Hart, narrated by David Chandler. This book is copyrighted 2006 by John Hart. This recording is copyrighted 2006 by Recorded Books. Jackson Workman Pickens is a humble small-town lawyer. When tragedy strikes his family, the ripple effect is felt throughout his North Carolina community, and Jackson, known locally as Work, is forced to face the consequences of choices he has made in his past, as the carefully constructed facade that is his life begins to crack. And now, The King of Lies.
Chapter 1. I've heard it said that jail stinks of despair. What a load. If jail stinks of any emotion, it's fear. Fear of the guards, fear of being beaten or gang-raped, fear of being forgotten by those who once loved you and may or may not anymore. But mostly, I think, it's fear of time and of those dark things that dwell in the unexplored corners of the mind. Doing time, they call it. What a joke. I've been around long enough to know the reality. It's the time that does you. For some time, I'd been bathed in that jailhouse perfume, sitting knee to knee with a client who'd just gotten life without parole. The trial had damned him, as I'd told him it would. The state's evidence was overwhelming, and the jury had zero sympathy for a 3-time loser who had shot his brother during an argument about who'd get control of the remote. 12 of his supposed peers, and not one cared that he'd been drinking, that he was cracked to the gills, or that he didn't mean to do it. No one cared that his brother was an ass and a felon in his own right, not the jury, and least of all me. All I wanted was to explain his appeal rights, answer any legal questions, and get the hell out. My fee application to the state of North Carolina would wait until the morning. On most days, I was ambivalent at best about my chosen profession, but on days like this, I hated being a lawyer. That hatred ran so deep that I feared something must be wrong with me. I hid it as others would a perversion. And this day was worse than most. Maybe it was the case, or the client, or the emotional aftermath of one more needless tragedy. I'd been in that room 100 times, but for some reason it felt different this time. The walls seemed to shift, and I felt a momentary disorientation. I tried to shake it off, cleared my throat, and stood. We'd had bad facts, but the decision to go to trial had not been mine to make. When he'd stumbled from the trailer, bloody and weeping, he'd had the gun in one hand, the remote control in the other. It was broad daylight, and he was out of his head drunk. The neighbor looked out the window when my client started screaming. He saw the blood, the gun, and called the cops. No lawyer could have won the trial. I'd told him as much. I could have had him out in 10, but he refused to take the plea arrangement I'd negotiated. He wouldn't even talk about it. The guilt may have been too much, or perhaps some part of him needed the punishment. Whatever the case, it was over now. He finally tore his gaze from the jail-issue flip-flops that had known 1,000 feet before his and forced his eyes to mine. Wet nostrils shone in the hard light, and his red eyes jittered, terrified of whatever they saw in that jigsaw mind of his. He'd pulled the trigger, and that brutal truth had finally taken root. The trail had wound its way across